I still remember the day everything fell apart. I'm Amara Singh, 29, from London, UK, and I had trusted my boyfriend, Liam, with my heart, my home, my entire world. 4 years of shared memories, late-night talks, and weekend escapes, all shattered in a single instant. It started with a casual message from a mutual friend. "Did you know Liam's been seeing someone else?" At first I laughed nervously, thinking it was some absurd joke. But a sinking feeling in my stomach told me otherwise. I grabbed my phone and began combing through messages, social media posts, and his carefully hidden conversations. Within minutes, my worst fears were confirmed. Screenshots revealed repeated cheating secret meetups, flirty texts, late-night calls. He had been living a double life. I felt a mix of heartbreak, rage, and disbelief. How could someone I loved, someone I trusted completely, betray me so easily? I tried confronting him privately, but Liam brushed it off, laughing it away, calling it harmless fun, and dismissing my pain. That moment cemented one truth. He thought he could cheat in silence, with no consequences, no accountability. The idea of confronting Liam publicly consumed me. It wasn't about humiliation for revenge alone, it was about truth, clarity, and making everyone see the person he really was. I began planning carefully. Every step, every detail mattered. Friends' proximity, the timing, the evidence, it all needed precision. I reached out to a few mutual friends discreetly, framing it as a concern for honesty. No one knew the full story, but all were suspicious of Liam's inconsistent behavior. I rehearsed exactly how I would reveal each piece of evidence: texts, screenshots, and photos laid out in chronological order, each piece exposing his manipulation and lies. Every night, I imagined the moment, Liam casually laughing with friends, thinking he was untouchable, only to have the room go silent as proof of his betrayal was displayed before everyone. I felt a thrill and a sense of vindication. Months of deception had led to this perfect storm. The day arrived. Our group of friends met at a cozy, familiar bar, Liam's favorite spot. He arrived confident, charming, unaware that I held months of evidence that would dismantle him. I greeted him with a smile that concealed simmering fury. My friends watched curiously, sensing tension but unaware of what was coming. I started casually mentioning little inconsistencies in his stories, prompting friends to ask questions. Liam laughed nervously, deflecting, but cracks began to show. Then, with the perfect timing I had rehearsed, I pulled out my phone and began scrolling through screenshots of his texts and photos. Gasps filled the room. Friends began piecing together the timeline of his lies. His charm faltered. Panic flickered across his face as he realized that the evidence was undeniable. I stayed calm, composed, letting the facts speak. For the first time in years, Liam was cornered, stripped of excuses. After the first tremors of realization at the bar, I knew I had to keep Liam off balance. The key was layering evidence strategically, so he couldn't anticipate what was coming next. I had spent days meticulously collecting proof. Screenshots of late-night messages, secret social media accounts, even the photos he thought I'd never find. Every lie, every betrayal, was now documented and ready for exposure. I casually engaged friends in conversation, letting them ask about his whereabouts and subtly revealing inconsistencies. His nervous glances were addictive. The once confident man who charmed everyone was beginning to crack. I felt a mix of satisfaction and adrenaline. It wasn't just about revenge, it was about restoring my dignity and exposing the truth. I noticed Liam checking his phone constantly, trying to gauge reactions from our friends. That's when I realized that if I timed the big reveal perfectly, it would leave no room for excuses. I sent Emma, a trusted friend who had helped me track some of the evidence, a quick text: "Get ready, it's about to get public." Her response was simple: "I'm watching too." The next evening, we met again at a small gathering, friends, co-workers, familiar faces. Liam entered with his usual charm, but this time, I was prepared. I began with subtle remarks, casual questions about his business trips, small hints that only made sense if someone knew the truth. The tension was palpable. Friends started noticing the discrepancy, some exchanging glances. Liam tried to laugh it off, but I continued carefully, layering the evidence without making it obvious I was orchestrating a trap. Every laugh, Every forced smile from him only fueled my resolve. Friends began asking clarifying questions each time I presented facts and let them connect the dots. It was like watching a house of cards slowly collapse. I could see his panic rising, but he still tried to regain control. That's when I introduced another piece, a printed screenshot of a particularly damaging conversation, placed casually on the table. A friend picked it up, glanced at it, and asked, "Wait, is this true?" Liam froze. The room began to shift. His world was unraveling, one subtle strike at a time. By now, the atmosphere was electric. Liam's attempts at charm were failing. I casually referenced events that only someone aware of his deception would know, and friends began connecting dots. The tension was thick. You could feel it in every glance. Liam's face, once smug, now reflected fear and confusion. The subtle strategy worked perfectly. As conversations unfolded, friends began questioning him directly. He tried to deflect, but every excuse collided with undeniable proof. I stayed composed, letting each revelation hit naturally, building suspense and maintaining full control over the situation. Then, Emma arrived quietly, confidently. She had additional evidence, messages Liam had sent her, revealing the extent of his deceit to multiple women. She shared them calmly with a friend, who then asked Liam in front of everyone, "Can you explain this?" His mouth opened, closed, and then he fell silent. The cracks were showing, and his panic was now visible to all. The room had shifted. The air was thick with anticipation. Liam was visibly sweating, fumbling with his phone, and his usual smirk had vanished. Friends whispered, exchanging glances that spoke louder than words. My plan was unfolding perfectly. I stayed calm, collected, and poised, letting the storm hit him without intervention. I leaned in subtly, pretending to laugh at a joke he made about his whereabouts, and then said, "Funny, I remember something else about that weekend." I held up my phone, letting the messages scroll just enough for a friend to see. Gasps rippled across the room. Liam froze. He knew he was cornered, but he didn't yet understand the extent of our evidence. Emma chimed in, calm yet deliberate. "Remember this, Liam? Or was it someone else's memory you were living in?" She displayed messages he had sent her, revealing the overlapping lies. The room shifted again. Our friends began questioning him, seeking clarification. Each attempt at explanation he made contradicted proof we had carefully curated. Liam's charm had crumbled entirely. He attempted to joke, to divert attention, even to charm certain friends into silence, but it was futile. Every effort collided with hard evidence. I could see the fear in his eyes. The confident man who once manipulated everyone was now scrambling, cornered, and powerless. I began narrating the timeline calmly, piece by piece, letting each revelation sink in naturally. Friends gasped as each lie was laid bare. Liam's face grew pale. He whispered apologies that nobody heard, and I smiled inwardly. Emma and I were a team now, perfectly synchronized in our execution. I could feel the room holding its collective breath. This was more than personal satisfaction. It was a lesson in accountability, in facing the consequences of one's actions. Liam's network of lies had been carefully dismantled, and the weight of exposure was fully upon him. By now, Liam was visibly panicked. His attempts to explain or justify himself had failed. Every friend in the room had seen enough to realize the truth. He had manipulated, lied, and cheated repeatedly. My patience had paid off. Every piece of evidence we had collected culminated in this moment. I let the facts speak, narrating each betrayal with precision while remaining calm. Liam stammered, trying to interject, but each statement he made was immediately disproven by evidence. Friends who had been on the fence now clearly understood his deceit. Emma subtly reinforced the timeline, adding details he couldn't deny. It was breathtaking to watch someone who once held power over our emotions completely unravel. The room was silent, except for occasional murmurs of disbelief. Liam had underestimated the consequences of his actions, and he had no one to blame but himself. The moment of closure was almost serene. Liam, stripped of his lies and social credibility, could only stand in stunned silence. Friends had absorbed the full extent of his betrayal, and whispers of disappointment and shock filled the room. The manipulative charm he once wielded was gone, leaving only the reality of his actions. I felt a calm satisfaction, not from cruelty, but from justice. The humiliation he faced was a natural consequence of his choices, and the truth had finally been revealed. Emma and I exchanged a glance, our silent acknowledgement of victory. The pain he caused both of us had been accounted for, and the lesson was clear. Deceit has limits, and betrayal will not go unanswered. Walking away, I felt empowered. This story was about reclaiming agency, exposing manipulation, and witnessing accountability. Liam would now have to reckon with every friend, every acquaintance, and every lie he had woven. Our justice was subtle, precise, and final.
Thank you for being here. If you enjoyed this, go watch the one on the left and don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel for more tales of triumph over injustice and a saga of ultimate revenge.